incredibly poignant, transformative moment in New Zealand history was captured there by the 2011 Rugby World Cup. Now, my topic that I've decided to focus on today is the notion of transformation, and that of transformational events. Events that transform lives, events that transform economies. Nelson Mandela, the face of apartheid, the face of transformation. What an incredibly courageous leader. What I learned through that whole experience of the Springbok tour, and the fact that several years later apartheid actually did come to an end, and the fact that Nelson Mandela and others said that events such as the protest in little old New Zealand at the bottom of the world helped to contribute to the social change in a country on the opposite side of the world. People can create transformational events. A moment in time that again had a transformational effect. Again, perhaps those involved with the Sydney Olympics don't necessarily know the incredible impact, the ripples around the world of an event like that. And it was the place of athletes with disability on the world stage to perform at the highest level. The London Olympics perhaps could not have reached the heights they reached without the Sydney Olympics having gone ahead of them and led the way. Mark presented this model that if we were to really transform the world around us, it wasn't enough just to look at the physical environment. It wasn't enough just to look at the social or the personal. The key was when those three elements come together. And we thought to ourselves, what event, what opportunity is going to present itself in New Zealand in the next few years? It had to be rugby. Nothing unites New Zealanders quite like rugby. You add to that a little bit of Kiwi ingenuity, a little bit of number 8 wire, and the fact that we may not do it in a beautiful way, but we'll find a way to do it. We'll problem solve. Innovation, creativity is absolutely key. For the first time ever, there was actually a budget that had accessibility tagged to it. I had never ever seen that happen before. So we took that money, and one of the things we did is come up with the B brand. I could not tell you how powerful a brand could be until I'd gone through this process. I never understood the power of a brand to bring about social change. The brand is really simple. It's a call to action. Let's be accessible. So what we did is we presented a slightly different lens. And we started to talk about people with access needs. And the reason we did that was we thought, well, what if we can start to frame this up in a way that actually everybody can relate to in some form or other? And so we started to use slightly different language. And we started to realise that this was a compelling way of framing that gave people a way to relate to a subject that perhaps otherwise they felt nervous of or frightened of. We started to talk about accessible tourism. And we started to share some of the incredibly compelling stats from around the world. What if we were to really front foot this one and think, actually, we want to be a destination of choice. We want the baby boomer dollar. And through that baby boomer dollar, that driver to bring about transformational change, the impact affects an entire society and community around us. It places a different value on something that typically has been enormously undervalued. So what is it? What are we actually doing when we go around and work with businesses and work with organisations to help them see this vision of an accessible world? And so we developed a whole rating system from just starting through to platinum. Now this program is now being adopted across the country. And what we're finding is that the businesses who came on board during Rugby World Cup are now coming back to us and saying, hey, we got to just start and we got a bronze. How do we get to silver? How do we get to gold? So what we've started to do also is talk about the yellow dollar. Why not a yellow dollar? Why not a dollar that is about accessibility and possibility? Why not a dollar that talks to the spending power of access tourists, of baby boomers? So it is 2 years on, and businesses around the country are coming on board. We're trying to model a new way of doing this. We're trying to model a non-charitable approach to social change in the access space. We want to retain the fact that there is a value to this whole space. Welcome to the Accessible Events Smart Business Forum here in Sydney. I'm Minnie Baragwanath and I'm the Chief Executive of the B Institute from New Zealand. At the end of my presentation, I encourage you to send in your experiences of accessible events, good, bad, ugly, beautiful, whatever it might be. For me, I think the key is about committing to the notion of access, and when we do that, anything is possible.